Suma's POV. We were left alone in that desert, surrounded by the bodies of our murdered comrades. After a far too brief count of who had survived, we discovered that only 4 of us remained. Myself, Captain Ryozan, 1 lieutenant, and the private whose wing had been removed in the attack. I was still in shock, but while everyone began discussing what to do, I was treating the private to the best of my ability. What happened? Why were we attacked? The now anxious lieutenant asked.
Are we sure they were court mages? The captain asked.
Yes, sir. They were wearing the symbols of the court, and they were certainly powerful enough, the lieutenant answered. I saw the captain glance at me for a moment, but I was too distracted with the dying private and my own thoughts to think about why. Captain, this private needs a full team of healers, not 1. He will likely not survive if he does not get proper treatment, I said.
We will carry him back to the capital, the captain answered.
Captain, are we sure that's wise? What if more mages? The lieutenant interjected, but the captain cut him off.
Those mages, whomever they were, attacked us in the wasteland, after waiting for us to leave the city. They would not risk attacking us in a major population.
How do you know, sir? I asked. Captain Ryozan looked at me.
I do not, but that Nume needs healing, and you cannot do it alone. We have no choice.
I am not sure he will survive, even if we do take him to the city, Captain, I said. I looked down at the private, who was covered in his own blood. Where his wing was once attached, now existed only a bloody stump, scarred over by healing magic and burnt feathers. The glow from the private's bear smears was nearly completely gone. If I had not started healing him, if I had waited even a moment longer...
You did well, Private Suma. Your familiar saved us. I have to give him my thanks, the captain said.
Jake, I thought. No, that was not Jake. I decided not to bring up what had actually happened. Not yet. After wrapping the wounded private in their manner, the captain and lieutenant carried him back to the city. I flew closely to him and monitored his wound, occasionally casting healing spells as needed. The private was of course light enough that only one of them actually needed to carry him, but in order to keep his body as stable as possible, both worked together. We flew quickly, but carefully, and we all watched the skies for any more mages that may have survived, or simply been waiting. Eventually we landed in front of the guard station, and one of them flew over to us. What happened to this Nume? The guard asked.
I am Captain Ryozan, and this is my lieutenant, and these 2 are privates. Our squad was attacked. This Nume needs the immediate attention of healers.
Upon hearing the captain's brief explanation, the guard's eyes glowed yellow, and a magic circle formed on the ground around him. I felt my feathers stand up, but nothing happened. A moment later, the guard's spell was over. The healers are on their way. Explain what happened. Do you know who attacked you?
We were attacked by mages bearing the symbol of the royal court. They killed several members of our group in the desert, the captain said.
Court mages? What? Why would they attack you?
I do not know. We were their invited guests just yesterday.
How did you escape? The guard asked. At that same time, 3 Nume landed beside the private, whom I was still treating, and cast several spells on him. While 4 other guards landed beside the first, who was already interrogating us. Some of the guards cast mana-wrapping spells around the private, and prepared to carry him off for the healers. We will take it from here, one of them said. I fluttered back and out of the way.
We did not escape. We summoned our familiars and fought them off. They retreated, but I saw one of them cast a spell as they flew away that killed all of their survivors and himself.
Kill themselves? Why? The guard asked.
I believe, Captain Ryozan glanced at me, that a spell was cast on them that affected their minds, making them turn on each other.
Do we know who cast the spell?
It was one of our familiars.
I see, the guard said. You all will need to follow me so we can confirm your story. The guard led the 3 of us to a local station, a large structure formed from moulded stone and reinforced with sculpted trees. It was half buried into the side of the city's wall, a well-defended location. Admittedly, I became nervous at the thought of going into the station, even to the point that the captain took notice.
It will be fine. The city guards are not under the supervision of the council. They are controlled directly by the royal mages and a local judge, he reassured me.
Yes. I am sorry, Captain, I said. We were led into a room and a single guard joined up, along with 2 mages, one of which introduced herself as a memory delver. Immediately I was struck with a sense of familiarity, and realised I had been in this situation before, 1.5 years ago, when Jake and I were attacked by those nobles. First the captain and lieutenant were questioned by the memory delver and the guard, while the second mage cast a spell that linked the 3 of their minds together. He asked them both the same questions, and both the delver and the guard seemed to agree that neither was lying. Finally it was my turn. The mage cast a spell on me and the guard began asking his questions. "How did the attack begin?" he asked. "One of the lieutenants saw mages in the distance, and then they attacked us," I said. "How many attackers were there?" "Many, 20 or more. Everything happened so fast, it all became a blur during the chaos." "After you summoned your familiar, the one who drove off the attackers, what did you do?" During the captain and lieutenant's questioning, they had discussed Jake's actions. "The private, he lost his wing. I cast a healing spell on him," I said. The three looked at one another, most likely talking privately for their connection. They seemed confused. "Your familiar, you are conflicted about him. Why?" the guard asked. He was not..." I looked away for a moment and towards the captain. The memory delver seemed concerned, and soon that demeanour was shared by the other two as well. "I do not believe the thing I summoned was Jake." "What do you mean?" the captain asked. "It looked like Jake, it sounded like him, but it did not act like him," I said, nearly singing. After everything, I was only barely able to hold myself together. My breathing was ragged, and I can only imagine how I must have appeared. It took some time after the battle, but I had eventually noticed I was covered in the private's blood and sand from the desert. "The image of your familiar and what you saw in the battle are conflicted within your mind, Private Sumer. At the very least you believe what you are saying," the guard said. "Please think about the events you witnessed." I thought about how I watched Jake cast those spells, mutilate those mages, and eventually try to turn on me. "The familiar's curse stopped him from turning on you." The memory delver spoke for the first time since she introduced herself. "Yes, I do not know what it was that I summoned, but Jake would never try to harm me, and he would never use death magic to kill people," I said. And the image of that noble in the alleyway appeared in my mind. "You have had an experience with death magic. It still haunts you," the guard said, after a moment of silence. Suddenly, the mage maintaining the memory delve ended the spell. "We have all the information we need. Your group was attacked by mages, apparently from the Royal Council, and you defended yourselves. That much is clear." "Yes, I assume the city guards will pursue the proper course of action and give my fallen soldiers the justice they deserve?" Captain Razaman asked, intensely, as if he was asking if the guards would not simply forget about this, to prevent themselves from entering the poor graces of the Council. "I assure you, we will investigate this matter fully. However, it seems that since everyone who attacked you was slain, that may end up a more difficult task than you or I may wish." The guard turned to me. "However, death magic in all its forms is illegal by royal decree. Private Sumer, you will need to remain here for a while longer, until a decision can be made on whether the actions of your familiar violate the decree."